Hey everyone, Kyle once again, and welcome back to another movie review, and back to reviewing another film that I've enjoyed this year of 2019. It's another one I put on my favorites list of this year. Now, I was going to review the first one for Halloween month, and then follow up with this film, but since the whole thing screwed me, if you know what, screwed me up, so I couldn't do that. So I'm just going to just go ahead and I'll review the first one sometime next year. But I just want to get to the film that came out this year that I enjoyed, though. And to me, this sequel, to me, is a step up or improvement in the one that was in the first film. Although I do have I have a couple of issues with this film. But overall, I still think it's better than the previous one by miles. Now, with this film, especially if I'm a fan that I grew up enjoying, of this character, that is of that movie, Godzilla, King of the Monsters. So yeah, this is what I was going to review, this and then this one for Halloween month, but totally screwed me up, so I'll review the first one before sometime next year, alright? But I just want to get to review this one before, why I enjoy this film, one of my favorites this year. So, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, which the poster I've seen, you see there. Directed by Michael Dougherty this time, which the guy who directed Trick or Treat, a horror anthology film that I've thoroughly enjoyed a lot. And then he directed Krampus, the Christmas horror film from in 2015. So, and Michael Dougherty, I think he did a good job with this movie. I think he was more passionate of doing this film, well, with Gareth Edwards. No, although the effects, like in this film, is good looking. Like 2014 had really good effects. I'll give it that though. Same with this one, but this one I thought it was more visually stunning, as I would try to put it. But I think the effects was more visually wonderful to look at more than the previous one, the 2014 one. So Michael Dougherty, he helped do the story as well as the screenplay. So, as well as directing. So I think he was more on a passionate thing for doing this film, and he did a good job with this movie. One of the highlights are off the bat, the score by Bear McCree, which my previous review for Child's Play, he did the score for that. This one, it's definitely one of my favorite score. I'll probably say my favorite score this year. I don't really do scores, my favorite scores though, but I would say because I really enjoyed the score by Bear McCree. He was also passionate about doing this score too. Especially, I noticed that some of the little bits of the score were renditions from the other Godzilla movies as well. Especially when he was rising up, like when he did that for the poster, it's like da 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 da. Those were references to the first movie, the original first movie. And especially another big positive that I love was the remix of Blue Oyster Cult's of Godzilla. Now, of course, the original Blue Oyster Cult's Godzilla is classic, yes, no doubt. But I loved when I heard this during the credits, which I also enjoy the credits too. That I just love this song. It's like just how the way it went, I just love it. There's maybe like smiles, like, "Oh no, they say he's got to go, go go Godzilla!" Oh. I love that song. This new rendition of Blue Oyster Cult's Godzilla. I loved this new rendition. I did, and ever since I saw this, I've been listening to like up until now. I've really loved that song that new rendition of Godzilla. So that's a big positive for me on this thing, is that song. But so the effects of this is great. Score is great. The directing by Michael Dougherty, I think he did a really good job with handling it. The direction, especially the visual is a visually on the level as well. Now, getting to the cast, which for the most part, the human characters I thought was better than the characters in the 2014 one. But of course, the best character in this film, which I'm sure a lot of people would agree with, died early on. You know who I'm talking about, Bryan Cranston's character, which his character never got to see Godzilla, which that still pisses me off. He was a better character than Aaron Taylor Johnson's character who played the son. Killed the best character off too early, even before Godzilla entered the picture. And that pissed me off a lot. Make him the lead, not Aaron Taylor Johnson. But the human characters and the rest of the human characters I didn't care for, except for, some of the characters from the previous one come back, like Ken Watanabe as Dr. Sarazawa, and Sally Hawkins, who played his assistant, and David Strathairn, who played the Colonel in the previous film as well. He comes back as well. But you have Kyle Chandler, who I mentioned before. I like Kyle Chandler. He's in this as a guy named Russell. How it opens up like after the events of the previous film in San Francisco when the destruction happened. Kyle Chandler used to be was married to Vera Farmiga from the Conjuring movies and Orphan. They were looking for their son who died, and you see Godzilla the wreckage of San Francisco before it makes it back into the ocean. And the cast, now years later, the daughter, played by Millie Bobby Brown, stars Stranger Things, as I keep on mentioning Stranger Things. But I thought she did a good job in this movie. Now, there's some things with the character like not fully developed, though, but still, I thought for the most part, Millie Bobby Brown, I thought she did a good job. I don't think she was not annoying or irritating. Like I said, three kid actors, I thought did a pretty good job this year. Like this Millie Bobby Brown in Godzilla. Then, Gabriel Bateman, who played Andy from the Child's Play remake, he did a good job as well. I forget the other girl's name, but she played Abra from Dr. Sleep. I thought she did a good job as well. So she did a good job. Vera Farmiga. Now this is one thing I will say as a nitpick though, because I mean acting wise, Vera Farmiga, she does a good job acting wise. But it's with her. This one thing is with her character. It makes me like what? Because for the most part, okay, she's with her daughter, and she developed this thing originally that Kyle Chandler also had worked on. This thing called the Orca, this machine called the Orca, where you can use these sound effects or sound waves to make it sound like a different alpha. And you see it with when Mothra comes out of his cocoon, like when Mothra is a larva right now. Use the Orca to calm her down, Mothra. And then these evil guys come in, kill the people except for those two, and it's led by Charles Dance. Charles Dance, who played Benedict from Last Action Hero and among many other movies. When he plays, a lot of times he's a bad guy. I like Charles Dance. He does a good job in this, though, but that's another thing. There's nothing fully developed more on this character, though. That's the thing. That's one nitpick I have is lacking, is like how with the first film, I'll say, is the human characters. And for the most part here, yeah, the human characters are not fully developed and somewhat forgettable, though. I would still say, sad to say, though. But for the acting, I thought they were a good job to do. I like Charles Dance. But you found out that Vera Farmiga, she's in cahoots with Charles Dance, because the whole thing is that once they go to the Antarctic, they use the device to wake up King Ghidorah, or Monster Zero as they called him, which he's been called that for decades, Monster Zero. That's the whole thing they wanted. They were release these titans, these monsters from all over the world to start the Earth over again, because with the whole thing with the human populations, like over like the pollution, overpopulation, they want to start all over with the Earth, rebuild it up so that wherever it is, like as long as the times we're free, but sacrifice some people, but the Earth will thrive again. That's what they're trying to do. And it makes you like not like Vera Farmiga's character because of the way she's doing, and even the one part where when she released Rodan, and Millie Bob Brown, the daughter, Madison, she goes and says, "You're a monster," because she's doing this for her son who died. I'm like, yeah, your son died in San Francisco. What about the other people who died in San Francisco in the 2014 film? Did you think about that? A lot of people died in that previous film, and but she's acting like her son is the only one that died and to accept her revenge. A lot of people died in the 2014 film. Think about it. Your son is not the only one who died, so you take matters in your own hands to do that. So I don't blame for the Madison for I was like, oh, get away from me and all that. You're a monster. You think this is what what was the son's name? Alex was? I think it was. We think he would have won this? I didn't think so. And but anyway, getting back but the Monarch, the organization Monarch, they with Ken Watanabe, Dr. Sarazawa, they recruit Kyle Chandler to help them with the Orca and what's going on. And when they see Godzilla, and we get more characters. You get Bradley Whitford, which we starting to get out, and then of course I remember from Adventures of Babysitting. His character was modeled after Rick, from Rick and Morty, the show, the cartoon, which I never got into Rick and Morty. I just never could. It's another show I can never get into, but he's modeled after that character of Rick and Morty, and he was a fun character. I enjoyed his character, so Bradley Whitford did a good job there. There was also this guy who he's been in some films, Thomas Middleditch. I did not like his character, so he was not that funny. Clearly, he's the comic relief guy, and especially he made some very bad joke, which I did not like, when they mentioned about what they call King Ghidorah. When they mentioned that King Ghidorah, he's like, "Oh, we mean gonorrhea?" I just wanted to go silence him for that. So yeah, I did not like him. But there's some human characters I did not care for. It's like how it was in the first film. The human characters, except for Bryan Cranston, not really all that good. Except for Ken Watanabe, he was one human character besides Bryan Cranston I liked. David Strathairn, in the first film too, he was all right too. He was all right because I like David Strathairn. I like him in a lot of films he was in. But so after which after they recruit them, they go down. They first see Godzilla, underwater, him slowly swimming up, and then it swims away. And then Kyle Chandler explained about what about the Orca, why they need him, why we need why Vera Farmiga wouldn't use that. So that's when they go to the Antarctica. And then when they use the thing to wake up King Ghidorah. And then you get a little bit of a shootout, and where Kyle Chandler gets there, and where they're surprised, where Vera Farmiga and Millie Bobby Brown, they're surprised to see him there, and you find out where now you find out that Vera Farmiga is in cahoots with Charles Dance. She blows up the bridge, that then summons out King Ghidorah. And that's when Godzilla comes in, and they get a little bit of fight, decent enough. And then, in the midst of that, Sally Hawkins, who was Ken Watanabe's assistant from the first movie, she gets basically eaten. And I think Godzilla fights it a bit, and then he falls down this hole, and then you get cool, which it made me smirk, because as he falls down the hole, you hear the original Godzilla roar, like how it was in the 1998 movie. They used the same original roar how it was Godzilla was in the old movies. So you heard that little original roar there, so that made me smirk. Okay. And like I said, some of the score that's going on, they reference they re-update some of the pieces of scores from other movies as well, so that's a cool thing to do. That's a Bear McCready. He does a great job with the score, and because I think he was also passionate about bringing up how certain pieces of the score from other movies were to put into this big epicness, to say. So King Ghidorah, he flies away, and now the next target, which I will actually, when the Vera Farmiga speaks to everyone, explaining herself what her plan is. Which at that point you think you do not like her for what she's doing now. You want to hate her for what she's doing. And when Kyle Chandler says, "You are your goddamn mind," and then they go to the next place is some place in Mexico where this mountain is, and Madison, Millie Bobby Brown, she doesn't like the idea of what her mother's now doing now, but she won't listen. Now she just no choice, but she now used the Orca and summons out Rodan. Rodan comes out, and they plan to lure Rodan towards where King Ghidorah is to fight. And that's when Millie Bobby says to her mom, "You're a monster." And the Kyle Chandler, as I say, where there's one helicopter that's been wrecked out, but he managed to open the doors for the helicopter to fly in. And then Godzilla fights King Ghidorah again and manages to rip one of its heads off. Rips one of its heads off. And then you get another reference to the original movie as well, where David Strathairn comes in and says that they're going to drop a bomb, which is called, that was supposedly to kill both those monsters, called the Oxygen Killer. Oxygen Killer. That was which was also a reference in the original movie as well, where, well, I'll get to that. I'll save this one part there for the next scene though, but that was no reference to the original movie, or how they plan to kill Godzilla with Oxygen Killer or Destroyer or something like that. And it didn't work because King Ghidorah is still alive, but they managed to say that Godzilla, he's not recovering, so they assume he's dead. And now King Ghidorah, he's now been reigned as the new king of the monsters, and Rodan bows down before him. And because of all the other titans from around the world rise up and follow the alpha, where towards the Alpha is. They're all causing destruction under the Alpha's command, because King Ghidorah is now the new Alpha. But they manage to hear that Godzilla is still alive, but he's weak, but he's still alive. So they follow like his trace or whatever in the submarine, but they find this underwater. It's not Atlantis. It's another ancient underwater city. It's not Atlantis, but it's another ancient underground city. They find the carvings to Godzilla with his image on it. And that's basically where his home is, that he's recovering where all the radiation is. He's recuperating with the radiation down there, but it's going to take a while, so they have to go plan to give Godzilla more radiation by setting up this one big nuke all in once to give him a major power boost. But, of course, this happens sometimes in movies where, the automatic is not working, so they have to do it manually. So which means someone has to give the sacrifice for. And I enjoy, and this one, I'd say this is my favorite part of the movie. Or, that Ken Watanabe, he's the one who's going to go. He's going to do it. So they bid their farewells to him. Gives Kyle Chandler his notes, which he keeps though, which he holds on to this this pocket watch he had in the first movie. He was holding on to this pocket watch he had, and I thought you get really emotional. For me, it was an emotional scene, yet emotional and powerful scene. Maybe powerful is a too strong word though, but that's how I felt. Where he activates the bomb, and then when you get mixed with Bear McCree's score, which I thought was a really good score with this scene as well. I think this is the best part of the score for this movie, was this scene here when Ken Watanabe, he activates the bomb, and then he sees Godzilla, resting, and he walks towards him because he was going to die anyway because of the radiation down there, so it wouldn't matter for him. He was going to die anyway. So he takes off his mask and all that, and then looking at him, then he touches Godzilla. And then says, he touches Godzilla, and Godzilla's looking at him, and then says in Japanese, saying, "Goodbye, old friend." And then, boom. And then the whole thing, when the bomb goes off, it's silent, no noise, just Bear McCree's chorus score. The part was like a chorus, like, oh, I really enjoyed that scene. It was Ken Watanabe. He did a really great job, especially with that scene right there. He was a good job. He was one of the best parts in the first movie, but like I said, same with Bryan Cranston. But here, his character was given more due for me. So But he did a great job, and especially with that scene right there, that very effective scene, I would say. Because like I don't think I think that's what the director he wanted to do. He wanted to give a scene where for a human character to with contact with God for human between a human and Godzilla. That's what he wanted to touch him and all that. Because I must have missed it. Because I don't recall a human character from any of the other old movies, to touch Godzilla like that. Otherwise, I must be drawing a blank though, but I don't remember. But yeah, I really enjoyed this scene, and that was one thing I referenced in the first movie is that with the oxygen destroyer or whatever, that was the original movie. Sarazawa, he did the sacrifice with that oxygen destroyer. But here it's changed a little different. He sets out the nuclear bomb to regenerate Godzilla. So that was my favorite scene of the movie right there. And then he rises up and he gives that scene right there on the poster. Rises up and then shoots into the sky. And then they go off to to follow Godzilla, but now because of also in the midst of the process, Mothra comes out of his larva state into really visually good looking. When I first saw that teaser, how visually good looking how it was when Mothra spreads her wings, and then of course you get another reference as well where when Mothra becomes like Mothra. Joe Morton has a little cameo appearance. Joe Morton from Speed, Terminator 2. Cool to see him there because he plays Brooks from Kong Skull Island. Kong Skull Island when he was the one who survived the island, and by the mid credits he was showing the character Brooks. He was showing Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson the footage of Godzilla and all the other monsters. So yeah, Joe Morton, he plays Brooks but older because Kong Skull Island took place during the Vietnam War. So, older Brooks, Joe Morton plays. Okay, cool. So it's nice to see Joe Morton there, and he plays Brooks from Kong Skull Island. Older Brooks. And you also got another reference from the Godzilla movie as well, where, I can press her name, Zoe Zhang. She's also part of this group with Kyle Chandler and all the others. And you see her twin sister, which explains to Kyle Chandler that their next generation, like 4th generation or 5th generation Monarch, they're twin sisters. Because you see her with Kyle Chandler and his group, and then the other sister with Joe Morton. And of course you get the reference of the twin fairies from the original movies, the fairies, the small identical twin fairies. So you get a reference to that. So that was another cool thing. So yeah, you get a lot of references to the old movies, which is, for me, cool, which I didn't get any other reference in this one. So, I think that's what they wanted, Michael Dougherty wanted to do, is show more, like, references to the old stuff, and that's why I think he was more passionate about this one. I totally see that. It was cool to see all those references from the scores and those other bits from the old movies as well. And so Mothra takes off, and of course, there's another thing. With Millie Bobby Brown, after she learns about what she overhears about what happened between her mom and Charles Dance, I like how the fact where she just goes and takes the Orca with just very easily. I love the fact that she very easily takes the Orca, which that's a very important piece of device. And yeah, there's no one around, none of like Charles Dance's men are around there to guard it, whatever. So this girl just walks right in and just takes it with ease. Very easily. And is able to walk out there very easily with no security or anything. So, yeah, that's another nitpick. Is like, oh yeah, this is a very important piece of device. Make sure you guard this. But no, she's able to walk in with nobody else in the room, and she goes and takes it like that. So, and then she goes to Fenway Park, the place of the Boston Red Sox, to play it over the speakers so that it draws all the other monsters in, all the other Titans and King Ghidorah in there. And which it does, it tracks King Ghidorah to Fenway Park and starts zapping, and then when she was about to be zapped, then you hear the original Godzilla roar again, which was cool to hear. it was cool to hear the original roar again. And that's why you see that scene in the trailer where she's sitting there smiling when Godzilla approaches, and then comes the big finale. And yeah, it's a good back and forth. Yeah, Godzilla. Well, in this film, he got his ass kicked by the Mutos. Yeah, he gets beaten up a little bit here, but not as much as he did in the first movie. But he attacks the Ghidorah with his atomic breath as well. Scuffles as well, and then Rodan comes in, and then Mothra comes in, and I like how Mothra looks in this as well. Well, the visual effects of the monsters are really well done. How Godzilla looks, but if you look back then and said he's fat, I never got that. Godzilla looks really cool. Rodan looks cool. So does Mothra and King Ghidorah. He looks really cool. Then all of them fights. Like Mothra fights. Well, Mothra uses her webbings to like stick Ghidorah to one part of the building, and then she fights Rodan. You know, and then she goes and stabs Rodan with her like a bee sting. Still goes and stabs Rodan. And then when Godzilla gets beaten again, falls, and then Mothra does a self-sacrifice, and you hear like another reference to how Mothra's original cry in the old movies. You know, her original. I can't do the sound effect, but you get what I mean. If you watch the old ones that had Mothra in it, you hear that old cry as well. Then Ghidorah zaps Mothra, disintegrates, but like her spirit or whatever enters Godzilla, and then which you get another reference to another movie where Godzilla goes. Well, I'll get to that. Well, he goes thermonuclear. He turns all red, which I'll get to that in a second though. But back to the characters where the girl goes to her old house, then it gets destroyed. Both the parents get her. And with some of the other soldiers as well, but they find the Monarch to use to distract Ghidorah. Then the mom, she does a self-sacrifice. She tells the other ones to go, but then she goes on her own to sacrifice herself to redemption moment to undo everything what she's done. I'm like, oh, now you want to be the good guy now after everything you've done to cause the whole world. To make the whole world go to shit, basically. Now he's like, oh, now I'm a good guy now. I want to redeem myself. But she does, and her car gets zapped, and she goes and says to Ghidorah, "Long live the king." And then it's where Godzilla goes thermonuclear, returns all red, which is another reference in another movie. Not one of the old ones, but it was one of the newer ones, like from like the 90s. I remember I forget what one was called though. But I remember where he also went thermonuclear as well. So you get another reference to that from one of those old movies as well. Well, one of the newer ones from the 90s. But I forget though, but I remember him doing that in one of those movies as well. So he's that, and then goes and disintegrates Ghidorah, and then has one of his head in his mouth, and goes and blasts it. And then Bradley Whitford's like, Jesus, it's a good thing he's on our side. And then, Ziyi Zhang says, for now. And then all the other Titans come in, like this one that kind of looks like an elephant with very long trunks. I don't know that one. It was called Behemoth. So that one comes. There's one Titan, and you get this one giant spider one, which kind of. It reminds me of the one from Son of Godzilla, where you get this giant praying mantis, and then you got this giant spider as well. I think that was... You get a spider in this one, but I think they were referencing from that one from Son of Godzilla. Because there was a giant spider in that, too. So you got that one, and then you get another Muto from the first movie, because there were two of them in the first movie. Here's another one right here. And it's a male one, because the female, and then this one, the female was bigger than the male. So it's another male one because it's smaller. So you got another Muto there. And then you got Rodan. And I like this bit where Rodan comes in and then he looks like Godzilla. And Godzilla looks at him, gives him this look like... and then Rodan goes, all the other monsters bow down before him. But it was like when that look that Godzilla gave to Rodan is like... then Rodan goes and bows because like he's now the king. Yeah, so all the monsters, they bow down before him because he is, and then he gives one big roar, get the wide shot of him standing on top, and he's the king now. All the monsters are bowing down before him. Yep, long live the king. And then as we get the credits, which I like how the way the credits are rolling with all the papers of all the other Titans, along with Bear McCree's redone score, reversion of Godzilla. He picks up a bus and he throws it back down as he waves through the village towards center of town. Whoa, no! They say he's got to go, 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 Godzilla! I love that song. That's the best song I've heard this year. I love that song. And then as the credits are going, it shows the newspaper's like saying, "What's a king compared to a god?" And then it shows Skull Island. Yep. And then it shows the cave paintings of Godzilla fighting King Kong, which I look forward to seeing. I just hope it doesn't disappoint. Which, yeah, Godzilla vs. King Kong, I hope it doesn't disappoint. Which I heard that they moved the release date from March of next year all the way until next year towards November. Why? Because I guess the reason why some people are saying that because this film underperformed, and I don't know, maybe people are tired of monster fatigue. I don't know, but they pushed it from March. I think it was March 13th. From March 13th to November 20th of 2020. So, and you got Millie Bobby Brown, Kyle Chandler coming back, as well as Ziyi's Zhang. I forgot how her name was, but they're coming back as well, along with some other cast members as well, some newer people. And also during the end credits, Charles Dance. He the one head that Godzilla ripped off in the ocean before the oxygen destroyer came down. Him and his men, they purchased this from the fisherman that kept it. So maybe you'll get a reference to the future of Mecha King Ghidorah. Maybe. That's what I thought, because I got the figurines all the way up there of most of all the figures. I got the original King Ghidorah, I got Mecha King Ghidorah, Mecha Gigan as well as Ghidorah, Space Godzilla, Anguirus, Rodan. I got most of those figures back there. But yeah, so maybe you get a reference to that, to Mecha King Ghidorah, maybe. But anyway, yeah, Godzilla King of the Monsters, it was definitely, for me, an improvement over the previous one. The previous one was beyond disappointing for me. As a fan of Godzilla, it was beyond disappointing. But here, this stepped up much more. Yeah, some of the human characters I did not care about, especially with Vera Farmiga, with her character, where she was mostly a villain and also does a 180 of, oh, I'm a good guy now. Or Thomas Middleditch, where he was just, with his whole gonorrhea joke. I didn't care for him. Did not like him. There were some other ones with the soldiers. To me, they were pretty forgettable. One was it Aisha Jackson Jr. Yeah, those are some of the soldiers I didn't care for. But for the most part, yeah, Kyle Chandler I like as an actor. He did a good job. And Millie Bobby Brown as Madison, she did a good job as well. Even though Vera Farmiga with her character, acting-wise, she was good as well. Charles Dance, another thing, he was good as well, but there was not much developed with his character. Otherwise, he was the bad guy. But despite that, I like Charles Dance, and he did a good job. Because it was like, he's like explaining to Vera Farmiga, I've seen men are firsthand. So I think it's high time we give the Earth back. That part he says. Ken Watanabe, he did a really great job. He was given more to do than he did in the first movie, especially with my favorite scene in the movie where he sacrificed himself, and that scene where he just goes, with Bear Cree's score, he just goes and touches Godzilla and saying goodbye, old friend. I love that scene. That was the best part of the movie for me. So Ken Watanabe, he did a really great job. Yeah, David Strathairn, for the role he had come back, he was there as well. The human cast for the most part I overall liked, but some of them I didn't. The visual effects are really great. I love the score by Bear McCree. Especially, I love Godzilla, the reversion of Godzilla during the credits. I love that. Especially the score was bits used from other previous movies. It was nice to hear. I love the score. The effects are great. I love the effects. And Michael Dougherty, he did a great job with this film. I can see what he was passionate about doing this one. What else? The effect of the designs of our monsters, like Rodan, Mothra, King Ghidorah, looked really good, especially with Godzilla. The references from the other old movies, like with the Oxygen Destroyer from the first movie, or Godzilla's original roar, it was cool to hear, along with Mothra's original cry as well. It was cool to see Joe Morton when he plays the older Brooks from Kong Skull Island. It's cool to see Joe Morton there, the reference of the fairies, like what was her name again? Zhang, who is referenced, of the twin fairies from the older movies as well. Trying to think what else I liked about the film. Well, there's another thing. It was great to see in the theater, because this is another one, because I mentioned. Yeah, I saw that. When I mentioned my big rant on the Dark Phoenix, which I think this film is miles better than the Dark Phoenix. I saw this because I was saying that because my rant on Dark Phoenix, they came out like the day after my birthday, and I saw this on my birthday, and which especially I saw with my mom, because she wanted to see that as well, because I hardly ever go to the movies with my mom, so it was cool that she went a long way to see Godzilla, and she liked it. It was cool. Yeah, miles better than the Dark Phoenix. And which is the problem I have with it. This film got lower negative reviews than, this film got like a 77% Rotten Tomatoes. This film got praise, but this film didn't. Why? I thought this was miles better than this. This was a disappointing, dull, boring movie. Well, this was much more faster paced and much better, had more things going for it than this film. And another thing, this film underperformed domestically and worldwide. It was a budget of 170 to 200 million. Domestically, it made about 110 million, and then worldwide, 385 million worldwide. Why does this film underperform? Why? And essentially, it had a poor opening, even though it opened up number one, though, but it had a much lower opening than the previous film's opening. Made about 47 million. So why this film underperformed? Why? Because people are tired of monster movies, or they said one thing is monster fatigue, or they're just tired of monster movies. I don't know. To me, so I just hit my freaking thing. Why this film underperformed? I have no idea why. Because maybe that was the reason why King Kong versus Godzilla versus King Kong moved all the way to November. I don't know why. To me, I call BS on that. This film didn't deserve to underperform. I think if this film made over 500 million worldwide, and why this film underperformed, I have no idea. I think this film should have made the same amount of money as this film, because also Kong Skull Island made about around the same money as the first film did. So I don't get why it boggles me, because why this film underperformed. Maybe it was reference, or maybe it was a mistake that they released the first teaser, which I enjoyed, at the Comic-Con back in 2018. Yeah, it was Comic-Con 2018 when they released the first teaser. Maybe it was a mistake they released it too early, like almost a year before Godzilla came out. I don't know. To me, this film didn't deserve to underperform. Didn't deserve the hate that it gets. I don't understand why. I don't understand why this one gets hated, but the first one got the praise. I don't know why. But yeah, the cast for the most part was good. For the most part was good. Some of the humans I didn't care for, but still, like Kyle Chandler, Ken Watanabe, Millie Bobby Brown. For the most part, yeah, were overall good. Bradley Whitford too. I can't forget Bradley Whitford. He was fun to watch. And the effects were great. The score I loved. The pacing was much better, I would say. And some of the action, bits, especially Godzilla and King Ghidorah was fun, and especially how the way he took out King Ghidorah, and then the end where all the monsters just bowing down before him, and he roars as the new ruler, as the king of the monsters. And Godzilla will always be king of the monsters. He always will be. Hell, he has his own. Hollywood Walk of Fame star on Hollywood. You know, he has his own Hall of Fame star on there. So that's why he'll always be king of the monsters. So, yeah, but I enjoy Godzilla. This is one of my favorite films this year, so I'm glad this improved. And Michael Dougherty was definitely passionate with this one. So he did a good job with this film. I like Trick or Treat. Krampus, I ranted on Krampus. To me, it was disappointing. Not good. But I like Trick or Treat, and he did a good job with this film. For a guy who usually does low-budget movies like Trick or Treat or even Krampus, here he does a big-budget film like this, but sadly it's underperformed. I don't know why. But Michael Dougherty, he did a good job. I like it better than Krampus, I would say, for his films. I liked it better than Krampus. Now, what do I think? Do I think Trick or Treat is better than this film? I love Trick or Treat. It's a great horror anthology film. It's one of the best horror anthology films to watch. Great to watch on Halloween. Maybe I'll say I'll put Trick or Treat just slightly above Godzilla though, because I enjoy Trick or Treat a lot. But it doesn't mean this film is worthy to be in my top 10 list. Maybe I'll put it as, because with Child's Play, would I put this at number 5 or number 6? It's hard for me to decide. I'll give it to when I get my list towards the end of this year. Then I'll have my decision on that. Because there's 4 other films that I definitely have in my top 4 for sure. So, but yeah, Godzilla King of the Monsters, I enjoy. And I will get to the first film sometime in next year, because I was going to review both of these for Halloween month, but that screwed me up, though. You know why. So I'll get to the first film. It'll be a rant. Don't worry about it. It's going to be a rant. So by sometime next year in 2020, I will do that. But for now, I just want to get to this because we're in the home stretch here at the end of this year. I just want to get some of my favorite films this year in there. That's why I want to review this one. So, but yeah, guys, my review of Godzilla King of the Monsters. Go, go, Godzilla! I just can't get that song in my head. I love that song. It's like the best song / best score I've heard this year. Yeah, love that song and that score. Yeah, but thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next movie review later.